Welcome to episode 2 of Learning the Ropes podcast with Justin and James, where we highlight, recap, and cover all things boxing. How you doing today, Justin?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. How are you?
Good, man. Hey, I'm excited for this episode. We had a great conversation with three-time Golden Glove champion Eric Ross. We're going to talk about the DAZN card last night down in Texas. Also preview the Canelo Ryder clash here coming this weekend down in Mexico. Yeah, I'm excited, man.
But first, we got a little drama coming out of the Davis Garcia aftermath. James, you got a little bit on that. What's going on, man?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, I saw some rumblings online. Also watched the Showtime epilogue series for the Davis Garcia fight. But yeah, man, we had this young Mongolian boxer that was in Garcia camp that apparently is the one who hurt Ryan to the body. So
You got a mole.
Yep. So Tank wasn't lying at the press conference when he said, "Hey, I found out you got hurt." So it turns out it looks like that's true, based off of what this kid said on Twitter. Also, some of the Showtime footage they just released, it showed Joe Goosen coming up to Ryan first thing after they stopped the fight, back in the corner, and said something along the lines of, "Did he touch you to that rib?" And Ryan said, yeah, shook his head. So it seemed like it was a known injury coming into the fight, which might explain some things. Does it change the outcome, or does that change the story of the fight? Probably not, but just some little juicy news we got over the weekend.
Well, I think the big thing too is Ryan is very strong on saying hey, I'm not using that as an excuse, because Ryan came out and he made a whole thing on social media about the guy coming out and saying all that stuff. And he said, there's a mole in camp. I can't believe somebody crossed me like that, this and that. But he was very specific multiple times about saying hey, I'm not using this as an excuse. I definitely lost. That was my own issue that I came in going to into the fight with. So I think that was great on him to not make it a huge problem, make it a huge excuse and all that. So I was really proud of Ryan and his maturity with that. And I think moving forward, he's going to be doing some great things coming up if he keeps on the trajectory that he is. Also, another thing I saw too, I don't know if you saw this, people were coming out some of Davis's past opponents, Mario Barrios, he came out and he said, I had a weight clause too. The rehydration clause the day after, not being able to rehydrate fully or whatever. So thought that was kind of interesting that everyone made a big deal about, oh man, Ryan had to do this crazy weird stipulation that Davis came up with, that he had to not rehydrate fully. But this is actually a big part of boxing. A lot of guys do that. They put that stuff in there. I know Canelo's used it a few times, and quite a few other people have. So just thought that was interesting. People kind of coming out after the big thing. I don't know if they're just trying to get their little 10 cents of clout, off of the big fight last weekend or not. But yeah. So
yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I like the fact that he's not using that as an excuse. It shows a lot of maturity, like you said. That's really cool. And it makes you wonder how many of these guys are coming into these big fights with injuries.
Yeah.
I can only imagine how brutal these camps are. And all that sparring, preparing. I can imagine a lot of these guys, it may not be something major, but I'm sure they have something nagging or something bothering them coming into the fight.
Okay.
Like we just heard out of Team Canelo, supposedly the last few fights he was fighting with an injured hand, including that Bivol fight, that Triple G fight, hence why he had that surgery or whatever, and now he wants that rematch with Bivol. But anyways, we'll get into that later. But yeah, man, that was the news, that was the gossip. Also, real quick, another recap. George Foreman movie, you saw that this past weekend? Tell me what you thought of that.
Yeah, I had a chance to go with a couple buddies on Friday night. We went and saw the new big George Foreman movie.
Okay.
I thought it was cool, man. It was a cool historical, it really covered his life well. I'm not going to tell you guys that it was a big flashy movie or anything like that. There wasn't a lot of CGI. They didn't do a lot of crazy cool action scenes or anything like that. But it was very cool just to kind of recap his life. And obviously George Foreman's one of the greats, man. I mean, I was excited to see it. The one thing I will say that they did a fantastic job of in that movie was they depicted everybody like perfect, man.
Hmm.
Like they had a lot of the characters, like people were saying, like, oh, they didn't really look like people, but you knew who they were when they walked in the scene, which I thought was pretty dope, honestly. Like they had one scene when he's going back to Oakland, and or not, I guess he's going to Oakland for the first time rather, and he's signed on, and he's starting to train at this gym, and you see the actor that was depicting Sonny Liston walk in, and like immediately I went, that's Sonny Liston, and like the dude that did Muhammad Ali in the multiple fights, that they showed of him, you like immediately knew, oh, that's Ali, you know what I mean? So I thought that was pretty cool, man, to see that. But yeah, they did a good job depicting his life, and they used a lot of actual pro boxers in the movie. Like Chris Davis, he played George Foreman himself, and then Michael Moore was played by um, his name's Charles Brewer, and I actually follow him on Instagram. Shout out Charles Brewer. But yeah, it was really cool. They had a lot of cool names in there, and even the guy that played Sonny Liston, I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but he was also an ex-pro boxer too. So it was cool that they like made that movie, and they also incorporated people that are like actually, in the scene now. So
Absolutely.
give
That's
those guys,
cool, man. Who knows? Maybe you'll get
yeah,
me to come out to the movie theater. It's been a minute since I've been to the movie theater, so I'm glad you got a good
yeah,
review out of it. So, yeah, man. Last thing
for
in like
sure.
housekeeping, or last thing we need to kind of recap from this past weekend was there was a DAZN card headlined by William Zepeda,
Mhm.
lightweight, kind of a come forward, high volume, just tough guy. So it was an exciting card. There was a lot of action, even on the undercard. Yeah, really exciting. But yeah, Zepeda, he's a really interesting guy. His last two fights were unanimous decisions over Jojo Diaz and Rene Alvarado. So
Oh,
good
wait,
names. Yeah,
yeah.
good names, good opponents. So I'm curious where he goes from here. He's up there. He's like in the top 5 and 6 as far as rankings go with the different sanctioning bodies. I think he's like number 3. Yeah, number 3 in the WBA. So yeah, he's on his way, hopefully to a title shot. I know we got a lot going on in the lightweight division already, but I'm curious to see where he goes over these next couple years.
Even if your name's mentioned in the lightweight division, that means a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. He's an impressive fighter. I like his style, but there was a lot of action on the undercard, including Oscar's namesake, Diego De La Hoya.
yeah.
He's been kind of coming up on the Golden Boy cards. Unfortunately, he got stopped. Pretty nasty left hook. But yeah, it wasn't. There were no title fights or no belts on the line for this card, so maybe a lot of people might have missed it or whatever. But very action packed, very entertaining, which is really cool.
Yeah. You always like to see those fights that don't have like a big title or a big name necessarily on it, but it's always good to see like when those guys show out, you know what I mean, and make highlights and all that stuff to make some ripples out there, man.
A lot of these
Right?
guys were prospects, so it's kind of cool to see what's coming around the bend. What's
Yeah.
going to be coming down the pike in the coming years.
All right, so now we got a chance to sit down with Eric Ross. He's a 3-time Chicago Golden Glove winner in the super heavyweight division. So this is our interview with him right now.
Eric, thanks for making time for us, man. How you doing today?
But I was just in here resting. I was sparring all morning.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we was sparring over there at Sam Gym over there. It's like I don't know if y'all know it, Sam.
Yeah,
Sam
Sam
Canelo.
Kelowna.
Yeah, we was over there all the heavyweights and stuff. Give
Okay.
me that.
Right. What's Sam always calls it the heavyweight collision or something like that, the heavyweight explosion.
Yeah, it actually was like it was every because we had a meeting for like we all finna go off for the nationals. We all finna go off
Yeah.
for the nationals, the Golden Glove Nationals next Saturday and everything.
Yeah.
So we had to meet up then he have everybody who just sparring. So it was like from the women on up. So everybody was sparring from like 10 to like 2.
Nice,
So
nice. Good rounds, I take it.
yeah, it was some good rounds. It was some real good rounds. We're gonna run it back Wednesday. We just trying to get everybody ready for the national so everybody can win this.
How many years you been training, man?
Man, I've been training. I actually started because I used to play pro basketball. I used to play pro basketball in 2018, came back 19, and I was like, man, I had kids, so I ain't wanna do the basketball thing overseas no more. So I've been doing this actually like a consistent. I've been training for about 3 years, you could say. 3 years.
That's what's up. And 3-time Golden Glove winner, right?
Yeah, 3 times. I just jumped in it, man. And I was like, because I've been fighting, growing up, I've been fighting and everything. So I just basically just jumped in it, and I won it at first. I'm like, hey, well, why not stick to it?
Yeah, valid.
Makes sense.
I feel you, man. So what gym do you actually train out of?
I train out of Tumble Park on 103rd and Oglesby.
Okay, so who's your trainer?
Rodney Wilson.
Nice. That's what's up.
He won the Golden Gloves 3 or 4 times, if I'm not mistaken.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. So you guys, obviously, like you meet up like Sam Kelowna and different places just to get around.
Yeah, we just try to find like work every other gym. Like all the heavyweights, we all try to help each other. So we just be trying to work on it with each other to get each other better. So.
How do you like the Chicago boxing scene?
I mean, like Chicago. To be honest, Chicago, like in the boxing field, they don't even label Chicago as like a boxing. You know what I'm saying? A boxing city. You know what I'm saying? Mostly like Philly, Ohio. And you can even say Vegas and stuff like that, like our city. So I'm basically like, we all trying to, the fighters that I do know, we all trying to put Chicago boxing on the map. You know what I'm saying? Because we ain't really known for like boxing like that. You must like athletes, football, basketball, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I wish boxing like would recognize Chicago as a big hub, man. There's a lot of good fighters up there and putting out a lot of pros as of late, and really for a long time with having like the Chicago Golden Gloves being such a big thing. You think we have
like Chicago, the Golden Gloves actually from Chicago, but it's like Chicago, they don't really look at Chicago. They actually look at us like we ain't really, like that good in the boxing field. So that's basically like some of my pros that's from the city. They putting on for the city too with the boxing field, like my boy Kenny Sims and Anton Cobbs and everything. So, we all just trying to put the city in the mix of all the great boxers.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I saw Cobb maybe like 2018 Golden Gloves. And back then I knew he was special. I think he was fighting at like 152, but you know how they go down when they go to the pros. And he had that like highlight reel KO on Top Rank recently.
Like he was that's one of my close homies and everything. But he was barely making 152 at one point. Now they got him making 140. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
wow.
Because you got to get in them camps and get fully locked in, because there's a lot of distractions in the city. So a lot of people going to feel like they can't make it. But once you go to that certain place and you get locked in fully, then you will really know you'll see your full potential in something. What you trying to do?
Absolutely. Can you talk about leaving? You won the Chicago Golden Gloves. You're used to the kind of what's going on in the city. What was it like leaving that and going to nationals? What was the atmosphere there? How was that?
Sure. Man, bro, it was actually basically I was like going in there blind, because it was like, all right, this is my first time. Everything is new to me. You know what I'm saying? Like everything I'm going here to fight these guys, and I'm looking at these people records. These people got 20, 30, 40 fights. I'm going in this national. My first time I only have 5 fights. You know what I'm saying? So that made me feel like, but I know I've been training so hard. So I'm like, man, I know I can compete. What's the worst can happen other than lose and I learn from it? You know what I'm saying? So when I went in there, it was just, don't get me wrong, I had butterflies. I'm like, man, these guys, they more experienced and they big. So, I'm like, it give me butterflies. But I know it's like once that bell ring, it's like, man, hey, you got to see me too. You know what I'm saying? I just took off from it ever since then. And once I got to get in like every fight, I got better. Every fight, the first fight I go in there, I got more relaxed. I got more, like after the first fight, it's like every fight because I fought 5 times back to back. Man, it's like the first fight was the most difficult because I was nervous. I'm fighting the number 5 ranked heavyweight in the country. So I'm like, I like, look, you hear people working, so that put a little nervous on you, but you still say, hey man, it is what it is. I'm here. So man, after him, then now I got the first fight, knocked him out. Stopped them. Then the second fight just got to going on and on. I'm like, oh man, these people ain't, to be honest, like they can't mess with me. You know what I'm saying? So I took off ever since.
That's awesome, man. That's gonna be, I think that's gonna be really helpful for kids coming up in the game to hear, your story and what that was like, man. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
man. I'm literally like the only person in there with 5. I actually don't even supposed to like to be open. You have to have 10 fights. You know what I'm saying? So me going in there with 5 fights, they look like, how did he even get in here if he only got 5 fights? You know what I'm saying? So it was like, everybody looking like, oh, this guy, he must be green. You know what I'm saying? And then I won it.
So this year, the Nationals are acting as like the Olympic qualifiers, if I'm right.
Yeah, it's the Olympic qualifiers.
Okay, cool, man.
Because I was actually finna fight in a Detroit thing for the qualifiers, but we was already doing the Golden Gloves, and me and my coach, we talked about it. We like, man, and what's crazy is if I would have fought in the Detroit thing, I would have already been in the qualifier because it's like the winner and the runner-up who fighting the winner. I mean, let's say if y'all, whoever in a championship fight, y'all automatic get a bid to the Olympic qualifiers. And I was already it wasn't that many fighters, so it was on like, I think 3 fighters. I think it was only 3 fighters, and they had me, and I was the #1 seed since I won the Nationals. So I was already fighting in the championship. I just had to go down there and fight in the championship and win it. And stuff like that. And the guy that won the Detroit thing, that's the guy that I won against. Me and him close friends now. I won against him in a championship in the national championship, but he just won the Detroit thing and everything. So I was like, dang, coach, we could have won that, man. But I'm like, man, and then again, I was like, coach, I want some more experience. So I understand what he said. I want you to get some more experience under your belt. You know what I'm saying? Like getting some more fights, getting that feeling. Because sometimes I get distracted or I jump in street fighting instead of just doing my basic boxing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm working on getting out of there, staying calm and relaxed and just beating up my opponent instead of just trying to destroy him. And sometimes you'll get winded and then it'll make it a harder fight than what it's supposed to be at the beginning. So we're going to do it the long way, fight people in this national in the Golden Glove and see how that goes.
So you said you used to play pro basketball. I think I watched a few interviews on you and stuff like that. They were saying you played overseas and all kinds of cool stuff. Congratulations on that. That's a huge thing to get by itself. So how do you think that, if there is any ways that basketball like helped you transition into boxing, like maybe footwork or athleticism?
Being athletic helped a lot in boxing. Being athletic, I would say that because I always had strong legs. Like even in basketball, I was always a high flying type of guy. Like I was the type of guy that everybody dunking, you know what I'm saying, dunking and all that in the post and everything. So I would say my footwork and all that helped. Like I think every sport helps each other. You know what I'm saying? Because like even with football, all this, every sport, like in basketball helped me on boxing with, I could say footwork and then how to move around the opponent and everything, just like with the ball. So everything helped either or. So being athletic helped a lot in in boxing.
So what do you say to the kid that maybe he might be at the end of his hooping career, or at the end of his football career or whatever, and he might be, 23, 24, 25, and he's like, man, I'm about to hang it up and be done with athletics. Like, what would you say to him about maybe even starting boxing? Like, is it okay to start at that age, or
I would tell any kid, like even I tell any kid, it's never too late to do anything you put your mind to. You know what I'm saying? If you put the time and effort in, you can do anything you want to do. You never know how good you in it until you jump into it. I never knew I was going to be this good until I got in the field and I just been taking off. So I would tell any kid that's looking up to going to try to, if they want to jump in the field of boxing, go for it. See where you at. You might be a real champion in 5 years from now. Just put in the work and work at it. Because you can do anything, long as you put the work into what you want to do, you can do it. That goes for anything. Anything you want to do, just put the work into it.
What's going on, y'all? Thank y'all for tuning in to the podcast so far. Just want to take a minute to shout out our sponsor, Young Winston. They sent us these awesome hoodies. They sent us a little bit of other gear. Got this wallet. I think it's great. I love it. I actually switched my own wallet and use this. Real easy to use, sleek, nice, easy in and out of your pocket. Pull your cards out easy. I love it. They also have things like gold wrist chains. They have a backpack that I also use. It's got a very, very nice, convenient USB port so you can charge your laptop and stuff. It's great. Sleek, durable leather. Love it. They gave us a discount code LTR5 for 5% off the entire site, whatever you want. Let's get back into the podcast, guys. Thank you for tuning in. All right, so this weekend, May 6th, Cinco de Mayo weekend, man. Got to eat some tacos and have some margs, so we have a big fight, Canelo and Ryder. It's a mandatory, so it might not be as exciting as what, we're used to with Canelo fights, but I think that Ryder poses a big threat. James, what you got on that?
you said, Ryder isn't the scariest opponent for Canelo, but yeah, short, stocky southpaw, which is interesting. But we saw what happened last time. Canelo fought a southpaw and Billy Joe Saunders, and didn't end so well for Billy Joe. Right?
Face.
Yeah, right. Broke his face. But yeah, man, should be a good time. Interesting that they brought it down to Jalisco, bringing it back to the hometown for Canelo, which is really cool. On the undercard, we got Julio Cesar Martinez, big power puncher. I like the kids. Down at flyweight, he's the WBC champ. Always entertaining. Very unconventional style, but yeah, man, throws big bombs. Really exciting. Also on the undercard, really interesting for me, Alexander Vostik. So he actually came out of retirement recently. I remember seeing him coming up on the top ranked cards. He's a light heavyweight. He picked up a strap, WBC, I believe, and that got him a unification fight with Beterbiev back in 2019. Beterbiev stopped him, and after that, it was kind of radio silence. Well, fast forward a few years, he's back. He just got a 6-round fight under his belt back in February, and now he's going to be on the Canelo undercard for a 10-rounder, I believe. So, yeah, man, those two fights in particular, I'm really looking forward to on the undercard.
Awesome. Yeah, man, a little more about Ryder too. Southpaw, so that always poses a little bit of a threat. Obviously, the last time that he fought the Southpaw was Billy Joe, but you just never know. Every Southpaw's got his own trick up his sleeves, like your boy. But yeah, so I think he's a little more dangerous than people want to give him credit for. I actually, this past week, I went back and watched some of the clips from him and Callum Smith. And Callum had pretty big control over the first 6 rounds, but a lot of people argue that Ryder might have won that fight, especially because he really turned it on from like round 6 on. And there was a couple articles written about it where they were talking about, that Ryder might have won that, but they were planning on, setting up Callum Smith for a, bigger title fight down the road or whatever. And they were kind of grooming Callum to be the big thing that he was at 168 there for a little bit. So not trying to get into like rumors and, all that kind of stuff, but I think Ryder poses a threat, man. Like he's a short, rugged guy. He can throw. He's a swarmer. You know what I mean? He's a high intensity, high volume puncher, so that always poses a threat no matter who you are, whether you're Canelo or, that guy making his debut, right? You get that guy coming at you with all those high intensity punches and stuff. You never know. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. He got a win over Danny Jacobs, which is no easy feat. So yeah, and looked good against Callum Smith. So it'll be an entertaining fight while it lasts, or maybe it goes the full 12. We'll see. But yeah, excited to see that and the undercard as well.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited to see how him and Canelo's styles kind of match up too a little bit, because Canelo's got that like come forward, walk you down kind of style, and obviously Ryder is the high volume punch, move forward also. So I'm kind of trying to see if Canelo maybe becomes more of a boxer in this bout, or if he really sticks strong with no, I'm the bull, I'm coming forward, and kind of see how both guys kind of take that and adjust their game to that a little bit.
That's a good point, because we've seen different styles from Canelo. I mean, we had the Triple G fights. The first Triple G fight, Canelo was very active. Got a lot of criticisms about that. And when I say active, I mean a lot of movement. He was circling the ring a lot the first Triple G fight. We all saw what happened there with the draw. Then they came back for the rematch and they made adjustments and made the decision to come forward. And I felt like that was kind of the start of this latest Canelo style where, I'm coming forward, putting pressure on you, bringing the fight to you. I mean, we saw that in the past, but yeah. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I know he's faced some punchers in the past and would choose to box or choose to brawl. So I'm curious to see what we're going to get this time out. So yeah, that is May 6th, this Saturday, Cinco de Mayo weekend.
So speaking of John Ryder and fighting Callum Smith, his brother Liam Smith, they just announced a second fight with Chris Eubank Jr. this week. So that'll be happening on June 17th in Manchester, United Kingdom. So that'll be cool. I think it'll be good to see Chris Eubank getting a second chance at it again. Honestly, I don't really have my hat in either side of the ring, but I do think that Chris Eubank is a good fighter, and I don't think he got to show his full potential last time. So I think this would be a good chance for him to kind of slide back in and really get the chance to really show his skills again. And Liam obviously is a very good fighter also. So it'd just be cool to see that rematch. And
I agree. Yeah, Liam looked really good. That was a really good win for Liam. But yeah, just like you said, I don't think Eubank got to really show. He didn't have a good showing for himself. So it'd be good to see him run it back and see what happens this time.
Yeah, and obviously we have Haney Loma coming up.
That's right.
On the 20th. That's a pretty big fight sliding up. So yeah, can't forget about that. We'll obviously go into more depth on that as the fight week occurs and all that stuff, and we'll keep mentioning it as we're moving up to it. Yeah, and then also speaking of our interview with Eric Ross, the National Golden Gloves is going on. It's starting May 8th through the 12th. Is that right, James? May 8th to the 12th?
8th through 13th, I believe. But yeah, that week over in Pennsylvania. So we wish Eric the best of luck, and we know he's going to kill it.
Yeah, be on the lookout for him. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so that's a show for today, guys. Appreciate y'all watching. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on socials, all that stuff. Make sure you use our promo code LTR5 at youngwinston.com. And yeah, we'll see y'all next week.